Although weather modification has been going on for the best part of a century, this phenomenon has really taken hold of our skies since the mid-90s. Oxford Dictionary definition of chemtrail: a visible trail left in the sky by an aircraft and believed by some to consist of chemical or biological agents released as part of a covert operation. This from Veterans Today. Contrary to rumours of conspiracy theory, the Department of Defence first published a document called Chemtrails in 1990 as the title to a chemistry course for new pilots attending the US Air Force Academy. The course content, however, suggests possible methods for manipulation of the Earth's atmospheric chemistry and conductivity, and of course could be construed as a course requirement for pilots who could be engaged in deploying chemicals into the atmosphere. These are not contrails which quickly evaporate, but persistent trails which slowly spread out and leave a haze which covers the sky and particularly the path of the sun. This has led to a phenomena now called global dimming. The trails have been found to contain particulate aluminium and radioactive isotopes such as strontium and barium. There has been no mainstream disclosure of this activity, which is a worldwide phenomenon. It is especially prevalent in NATO countries. Soil samples taken in both the US and Britain reveal way over safe levels of particulate aluminium. This is not the natural aluminium formed in soil. The official reasons for this activity as a proposed and not yet officially implemented strategy is to combat climate change under the official term solar radiation management. This aspect is already in the public domain through mainstream newspapers. Plans to implement stratospheric aerosol geoengineering have been around since at least 1991, with reports of its activity beginning to surface in the mid-90s. The US Hughes aircraft patent, March 26, 1991, called Stratospheric Welsbach Seeding for Reduction of Global Warming. Steve Hamburg, Chief Scientist for Environmental Defense Fund (EDF) and co-chair of SRMGI, said solar radiation management could be potentially risky when large-scale experiments of this technique are deployed in the real world. Solar radiation management has three essential characteristics, notes the International Risk Governance Council, IRGC. It is cheap, fast and imperfect. The World Meteorological Organization states currently there are dozens of nations operating hundreds of weather modification projects. The recent Royal Society funded Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative, SRMGI, states under Chatham House rules, which means we know this was said but not who said it, quote, involve the general public because A, they pay for it, B, they have the power to stop it. Keep them informed on what geoengineering is for, but don't necessarily ask their permission. Citing geoengineer David Keith, the IRGC explains that by injecting 13,000 tonnes of sulfate aerosol into the stratosphere on a daily basis, they would offset the radiative effects of a doubling of atmospheric CO2 concentrations. This compares to having to remove 225 million tonnes per day of CO2 from the atmosphere for 25 years, which their own panel admits they do not know how to do. In addition to warning policymakers in its summary that chemtrails must continue, the IPCC also denies that such programs exist. Buried within Chapter 7 of their report, the IPCC simply states SRM methods are unimplemented and untested. However, the IPCC also states if SRM were terminated for any reason, there is high confidence that global surface temperatures would rise very rapidly. The Solar Radiation Management Governance stated it could be potentially risky when large-scale experiments of this technique are deployed in the real world. Another study published in July 2010 by the United States Government Accountability Office stated that not one geoengineering technique is safe and their implementation could cause more damage than the supposed catastrophe they intend to avoid. This study concluded that climate engineering technologies do not now offer a viable response to global climate change. Even Greenpeace's chief UK scientist, a staunch advocate for the case of man-made global warming, Doug Parr, has slammed attempts to geoengineer the planet as outlandish and dangerous. Geoengineering is also covered in documents available online entitled Developing an International Framework for Geoengineering by the Council for Foreign Relations. Aerosol spraying on the public is in violation of the 1978 Environmental Modification Treaty. US Environmental Protection Agency says that exposure to airborne particulate matter is an environmental health risk of global proportions.